Good evening, Danvers. This is Mark Zuberek in regard to topics of the town news, June 18th, 2020. Today we have Matthew Duggan with us and Jim Morose
Hello, Danvers.
as a special guest. So welcome, gentlemen. The transparency and independent reporting is our motto. The topics of the town news reporting is by Danvers producers for Danvers residents. We always report the truth based on events in our town, sometimes with our opinion included. I mean, that's only natural. I'd like to start off with a statement that I read recently, and the Declaration of Independence was a promise. The Constitution was the fulfillment. So if we can show the town seal, which is very, very interesting, because what it says on here, the King Unwilling, Danvers Town Seal. The town seal represents our town meeting form of government and how this was conducted by our forefathers and cherished as a sacred duty to be governed by the people for the people. Town meeting is a cherished duty to support democracy. And elected town meeting members take the oath to abide by the Constitution of the United States and Massachusetts. We take this seriously. The Massachusetts and federal Constitution is a restraint on the government. It tells the government what it can or cannot do. It does not tell the people what we can or cannot do. This is still a free country. So, leading into our town meeting, this is our purest of all democracies, the strongest of all cradles of civil liberty, the town meeting. So the town seal, which was basically struck in 1757, represents the town government in this town. So going into the next segment of the show, I'd like to introduce story number one, which is really about the town meeting. The town meeting is scheduled for June 22nd, 2020, and may have to rely on a 1/12 spending plan proposed at the selectmen's meeting and approved. There is a need for a quorum of 75 town meeting members to be able to conduct business. The town manager's budget and warrant articles are unrealistic and unaffordable after the revenues for the town are analyzed. That was the big discussion. The town meeting is now permitted to be attended in person. What happened with the last 4 months worth of stay at home and stay in your bunker? Don't spread the virus. Matthew, you got anything on that? Matthew, you're off.
You're muted, man.
Okay.
So Monday is when town hall is supposed to open on next Monday, the same day as the town meeting. So I'm not sure what that means. I guess you'll be able to go inside town hall. But yeah, let's open it up and still wear masks and do the social distancing, but just be smart about it, and we can kind of try to conduct business similar to the way we've done it in the past, but we'll just have some safety restrictions. That's all.
Well, the biggest issue for the town meeting is the spending authorization is needed for the town. The town cannot spend or tax dollars without the authorization of legislative body of the town meeting. And we're all members of the town meeting. They need to pay their bills starting July 1, 2020. The town meeting must vote a budget for 2021. This is the most important responsibility because we have the responsibility for authorizing spending of our tax dollars. But Jim, I have one segment here that I like to bring up, but I need your input on this. Wait, we are directed and urged by the governor and the town manager to shelter at home and not attend any gatherings of more than 10 persons. The FY 2021 budget vote of town meeting is scheduled for June 22nd at the Field House. What makes this permissible? It is possible only for one reason. The town hall needs money to operate. So, Jim, what do you think?
I try not to think about it too much because, the implementation of all these on the spot changes are so conflicting and fly in the face of the facts. In fact, I think earlier this week, Governor Baker got the report that, it was a fact before that if you had the virus and you, even though you were asymptomatic, you didn't have symptoms, for 2 weeks, you could spread the virus without knowing you have it. But all of this, that's not true. The facts don't support that. The report came out and said that's not true. And so with that in mind, there should be some changes and adjustments, but the governor said he doesn't believe that report. So, okay, fine. So we make this stuff up as we go. It's all convoluted. Churches are closed, but the liquor stores are open. Okay.
And marijuana.
Everything, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense at all. It's so convoluted. It could only be a government program. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Jim. What I was getting at here is the attendance at the annual town meeting may not be available, so the state steps in to permit any avenue of a quorum to take place and only to spend our real estate funds. Matthew, you've introduced or you've identified this bill that was passed by the legislature, and they did it in remote control. They are not seated at their desks, and for some reason, they are allowing the quorum to be reduced. What do you think?
Well, I saw an article the other day, and I thought it was only open town meeting where anybody who shows up, any voter that shows up can vote on the warrant. But now you're telling me that it's also representative town meeting, which is what we have. So the selectmen have a meeting, an agenda published for next Monday during the town meeting to, I guess the selectmen have the ability to reduce the quorum. You mentioned the 75, so they could maybe make the quorum for whoever the number of people show up. So it could be like just me. I might be the only one shows up, and then I can vote on the budget. So, and I can offer amendments, and I can do those types of things. But yeah, it's kind of I don't know if we are stuck in this position where we don't have a choice, that in order to maintain the functionality of the town government, we need to go this route, that we can have a smaller quorum.
Well, the issue that I have found, and the Board of Selectmen came up with a solution by authorizing 1/12th budget that can be used to pay bills in July. The budget that was approved was $20 million, over $20 million. However, the 1/12th budget, or the amount of the budget, is only about $10 million. So the selectmen have under their authority, have already passed a vote. They took a vote on passing a $20 million budget for July of 2020. And
So that's 1/6, right? So that's not really 1/12, it's 1/6. So I don't know why they need all the extra money for July.
Well, the thing is, I watched the meeting and I listened very carefully. They have provisions in there that they're going to pay the total retirement of $7 million plus, and the benefits, their total amount. That's where the additional $10 million comes from. Now we come to a significant issue that the Board of Selectmen did not even question the request for the $20 million budget. Last Tuesday, the value of the 112 budget was calculated at about 10 million, but that was not what was authorized. The Board of Selectmen voted to authorize a $20 million budget without any town meeting authorization. This appears to be a total allowance of a bloated budget to give the town flexibility and implement central planning. We have to ask why the proposed budget was doubled. The solution is in the details, which were on the agenda documentation and were not questioned by the board or the public because the public was not available. I don't know. I have tried to send an email to whoever is on the other end, and every time I tried that, it's just ignored. Matthew, you've had some tries to it, haven't you? And you're silenced again.
Yeah, keep getting put on mute. I'm sorry, say the question again, Mark.
The question again is, have you had any success in attending virtually the selectmen's meeting, the planning board meeting, or any other meeting that they've been conducting? All of these meetings are illegal.
No, they offer this functionality where you can submit written questions via email, or you can call a number at town hall and press number 2. But by the time they get to your question, it could be like 45 minutes later, and then when they read the question, they say it's already been answered, and they just move on. So the upcoming on the 23rd, next Tuesday, the planning board is caused quite a ruckus where they're going to be having public hearings for 3 contentious issues in terms of developing some projects. And a number of town meeting members have contacted the Board of Selectmen and say they're not in favor of that the applicant can meet with the board and have a real-time discussion while the public can only basically look on passively. So that is what you're getting to, I think, that it's an affront to the democratic process, that we can have a town meeting where people are appearing in person, but the planning board can't use that same type of venue for their meetings, that they're going to continue with these remote WebEx meetings, which is very disturbing for a number of town meeting members.
Well, Jim, I have printed out a Commonwealth of Massachusetts Office of Attorney General open meeting law complaint form. I don't know how far this is going to go, but the meetings that are being held are totally illegal.
Well, that's okay, Mark. Let's face it. What we have done with shutting down every small business and everything else is all illegal too, but they did it anyway. And even in the face of updated information, they still keep the small businesses and the private sector closed down for Granted, I understand that there are certain people that are immune or not immune that are in the high risk area. I'm in the high risk area. I'm old and I got lung problems. I smoked for 40 years. Okay, and I've got all sorts of problems. So, but again, we just do what we can. Now these open meeting laws, I just try to I got the thing here. There's about 25 pages worth of gobbledygook. But then again, I just Googled it. But when you can't say they're illegal because they when you pass a law, you can make anything, that doesn't meet the requirements of an open meeting law legal by saying, well, this is a crisis. Okay, so under the guise of a crisis, they can do all sorts of things, and that's what they do. Okay, I mean, I personally have watched, conservation committee meetings, zoning board meetings, and the FinCom meetings on TV under the WebEx version, and it's like, I mean, I'm trying to pay attention, and it's like, you gotta be kidding me, man. It's very hard to focus in on that stuff. And again, we had this discussion before. They have telephones. You can put on 100 people on a conference call.
Right.
And that works. You can have the WebEx for the visual and stuff, but the phone is the key. And people can talk, because some people don't even have a computer. Half the people I know, they can't do any of this stuff. They don't have. Well, I'm going to zip it now, Mark. Paul's back to you.
All right. So the ball's back in my court, and they're not playing basketball. That's for sure. Jim, you asked about the most significant warrant articles that have been included in this warrant, because there's $128 million that we're going to spend in about 2 minutes. And the warrant articles are the ones that are really serious. And the one that I chose was the Essex Tech. And the Essex Tech issue has been bantered around by the Board of Selectmen, by the FinCom, and anybody else that wanted to have their input. But the one thing that they forget is that the 186 Danvers students that have chosen to go to Essex Tech to get a rounded education in technical and education that will bring them to college level. And the thing is that, yes, it went up by quite a bit, but there is no compensation of those students in our education budget. The budget was reduced slightly to stop the discussion about the cost of education in this town. But the one thing that they forget is that after you include all of the items that Essex Tech includes in their cost of per student, we are approximately the same value for each student. And this is not just the high school. They use this across the board. There is a significant cost that is being carried in the budget of the town that compensates for buildings, building maintenance, operations of buildings, fields. Fields are manicured every single week. The high school is brand new, so there's costs included in there. So after you include all of those costs, our education cost comes out to be about $65 million. And we have 3,000 students. So you're talking about over $2,000 per student. And I think Essex Tech is around 16 or 1,700. 17,000, I'm sorry. Thousands. So what warrant article did you choose, Matthew?
I was also looking at the school budget, because we know that that's about half of the total annual budget.
Right.
And we were looking to see if the school board or the school committee was going to reduce their budget based on the potential for Chapter 70 monies being reduced. And that's where the town receives a significant amount of state funding through Chapter 70 and cherry sheets. But the school committee really only reduced a token amount, about $400,000 out of actually their budget I think is $43 million. So just a token amount. And And we're seeing now that when school comes back in session, there'll be significant costs for PPE for the teachers and the students. And it could be thousands of dollars a week just for masks and disinfectant and that types of thing. So the school budget actually will have, the school committee will need to look in for funding in other areas of their current budget. Maybe they have some free cash or whatever,
But
I
I
don't think
think,
we're really, yeah, go ahead.
I think the significance of this budget is, you're right. It's about half of the cost, more than half of the cost for the town as a whole. The problem is that, is there education going on right now? The last 4 months, we haven't had any education to speak of. It was all remote control. And the teachers do the best they can with the facilities and the um, technical abilities that are available. The kids have not had any education for 4 months. Now, there's talk that maybe even next year in September, they may not go back to school at all. Now, whose fault is that? Jim?
I think it's all Trump's fault, but other than that, you know, I didn't pick any one particular warrant article. I just kind of looked at the fact that, what do you call it? You know, small businesses, private enterprise, hit the wall, stopped on a dime. They were out of business. They had to cut every corner. They had to lay people off. They had to furlough people. They had to cut. They had to shut down. And so what has the town done? Have they even looked at one cost-saving measure? This budget does not reflect that. I don't know what the heck they've done, okay? Because they never stop. They're so far out of sync. They're 3 months behind. They should have cut 3 months ago. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to have to start ramping up. Like Matt said, we're going to have to start. It's going to cost more because we got to pay for all the sanitation and everything else. But again, I'm going to put my money on the horse that says, the crisis is ending. We flatlined back in April, people. Okay, yeah, the numbers keep coming in, but they're going down. They're not going up. So it's and then we're going to come into the second one again. They never took one. They never even looked in the drawer for the knife to cut the budget, let alone they never. They just can't do it. And I don't know what it's going to take, because we're only going to have 75 people at the meeting if we get that. And again, there are some people that we all know. Town meeting has a lot of old people like us in there, and they can't come because they're on the high risk list.
Absolutely. And then that's where my concern lies, is that all of a sudden it's permissible to gather 150 people into one room. And for the last 4 months, we've been landlocked or under a martial law conditions where they don't want us to leave our homes. Well, I think the warrant articles, I went through and reviewed every single one of those. And a lot of the warrant articles are appropriate, but they're all based on the water department and, the street department. And those are costs that need to be spent to support the facilities that we have in place, the streets and our sidewalks. However, the one thing that I noticed is that every single item, 60% of the items on there are for water and sewer and the electric company. The water and sewer are spending the tax increase that we have, the fee increase that we have imposed on our residents of 15% for water. Everything went up. The electric is another one that they have increased the cost. So now they have available funds to spend. Maybe it's appropriate, maybe not. I don't know. Some of those facilities do need repairs, and I will vote for them when I decide to go to the town meeting. But right now, I don't know if I may just not go and protest. And that'll be my message to the town moderator, because she's been very good about things. But the town meeting is a meeting of the moderator and the town meeting members, not of the Board of Selectmen. So,
All the warrant articles total, right? If you add them all up, according to what's in the budget here,
yeah,
it's 11.3 million. Okay, that's the total of all the 31 warrant articles. There's $11 million there. And again, it's all spread out between the schools, water, wastewater, technology, and, highway streets.
the water and sewer, I think those are necessary repairs that have to be made, and they have considered that. But the thing that affects me directly is they have increased the cost, so now they can spend more money. The problem is when is there a cutoff? So we're all in this together, and that's a heck of a statement I'm hearing all over the place. But you think it's funny? It's not. We're all in this together. That's a bunch of baloney. So let's move on. We're almost halfway through. And the next news story is the town manager's budget. And I have written up a couple of paragraphs here, and I like to just go over them real quickly and have your input into it. The selectmen did a lot of pounding of their chests during the 2021 budget review hearing. Not one selectman asked for a reduction to the tax burden on the 25,000 residents in town. Not one. Budget review was conducted. The meeting was attended by all who had interest in benefiting from the town treasury. No residents, taxpayers, were even allowed to input. I tried to input into it. They, like Matthew said before, they are so late that you can't participate. The issues that have been conducted at the budget hearings, and this is for both the selectmen and the finance committee. They looked at the anticipated reduction in state aid, so they reduced the revenue streams. Anticipated reduction in room, excise, meals, and building permits, taxes, and fees were also reduced. No reduction in real estate tax, not even a mention and consideration of the taxpayer. We are going tax to the max. That's all we can do. No reduction in education, school costs. We just talked about that. Misrepresentation of the budget of the Essex Tech. And we already talked about that. No reduction in benefits and retirement. What they have done on the 1/12th budget, which is really 1/6 budget, they have included the total cost of benefits and retirement for July of 2020. No reduction in OPEB costs. That's been an issue right along. No reduction in salaries costs. I don't see any reductions. There may be some streamlining. No reduction in staff.
Well, I see, can I just jump in here? So I know that there is a hiring freeze at Town Hall now, and I was told they've actually had to lay off some people. So I'm not sure the accuracy of that, but.
What people did they lay off?
I don't have any specific names, but I believe that in the community services area, they may have, I don't know if they furloughed them, which is kind of don't pay them, and then they still have their health care, and that would be a temporary situation. But I think they're at least making an effort to kind of rein in some of their personnel costs because,
Well, I have not been able to find any identified positions that have been reduced, and when they talk about it, they haven't really done that. No reduction in anything that may have reduced the tax burden of our seniors and young families who may have to leave this wonderful town. And you're right, there was a slip up maybe in a note to selectmen. Danvers Town Manager Steve Bartha signaled more severe cuts may be needed once the town gets a clearer picture of the impact of coronavirus crisis will have on local and state funding. That was quoted by Dave Copeland in his article in the paper. The cuts are already
So can I jump in again? Yeah, so just to follow up on that comment, I think the town manager and the selectmen are going to just try to push this budget through that was constructed over the past few months back in late winter, early spring. And then later on this summer or in the fall, have a special town meeting if it's apparent that we have significant shortfall in the revenue stream. So I think that's probably what to expect, another special town meeting in the near future.
That's like having a contract with a contractor, and after the work is done or approved, then asking for a reduction 2 months later after the work is done. Come on, guys, let's get serious. This is supposed to be run like a business. This is not a opportunity for spending our tax dollars. Jim?
It's a government business. That's how they do business. They're always behind the curve. They're always behind. They're never ahead. They're never proactive, I guess, except on certain things, But, when a crisis comes, this is a crisis, right? And we have to manage the crisis. Now, there's too many people with too many different points of view, and it's chaos. Nothing short of chaos. Okay, no one's listening to anybody. Everyone's doing what they think is best. Everyone's getting their 15 minutes of fame at the mic. Oh, yeah, we're not gonna open these things. These things we can open. This is craziness. This is sheer craziness. The whole rest of the country's all open, by the way. In case you know.
Well, then, what the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're all town meeting members. And
Right.
basically what they're asking us to do is to approve a budget to spend $128 million without having the ability to pay for it or a revenue stream for it. And the FinCom is supposed to be the one that's asking the question, can we afford it? And where is the money going to come from to support this budget and the warrant articles? The thing is that we're spending every penny that we can get our hands on, and the misnomer of free cash, there is nothing free around here. And the thing is that we're spending the money without knowing how much we're going to receive in receipts. The one thing that has been very good about this town and the residents in this town, the homeowners, is that they have been paying their taxes, and I have not been able to get a figure of what the percentage of taxpayers that paid on time by June 1, because they extended that as well. For convenience of whom? So,
Okay, so Mark, look at I'm reading the letter from the town moderator, and she mentions, from paraphrasing, she mentions the fact that if you're not going to make the meeting, if you can't make the meeting, please contact the clerk's office no later than June 15th. So technically, today is Today's the 18th. So 3 days ago, they may know if they have the 75 quorum or not, depending on on what happens. And now, if you're not going to go, then you may need to call them and tell them you're not going to go. I mean, because that's what they're asking. Now, whether we get a forum or not, I don't know what's going to happen.
Why would I have to advise the town hall that I'm not going to attend the town meeting?
Because they're asking us to.
Well, yeah, well, you're becoming one of the obedient ones.
Pardon me?
You're becoming one of the obedient ones. Succumb to the pressures of government.
But it's only common courtesy, Mark. Come on now. Let's
yeah, but it's only,
I mean,
go
ahead.
You only know what you know today. So you may think you're going to go, and then this weekend you may decide you don't want to go. So
absolutely,
it's just a kind of a best guess at this point.
So I will be very surprised, or maybe not, maybe surprised in a good way, that 75 town meeting members will show up. I don't know.
I'm trying to feed my positive wolf. Okay.
Oh, you're being so positive. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and my dear wife here says you do it too. You got to get positive. So, but the one thing that I noticed when they were reviewing the budgets, no one asked what impact will be felt as a result of this inflated budget. No one asked why are we allowing the state to dictate that there will not be any evictions or rent payments. I mean, these people are in business. This to me is an illegal taking of our properties and signifies big government taking over real estate business. To me, it is continuation of mass communism. But that's my opinion. You know that. One of the items that was brought up to the Board of Selectmen was that the business have been asking the selectmen, how can they get a reduction or relief on the cost of their permits, of their taxes, of their, fees that they have to pay to the town. But nobody even asked what impact this budget will have on the tax rate that's going to be debated in December. And every time I ask the question of why is our tax rate so high, he says, well, you should have been asking that question during the town meeting. That's
okay,
when the decisions.
You're exactly correct, Mark. And not only are you correct, a couple of the selectmen made the point, which I'll try to remember from my rusty memory here, but they said that we didn't order all this stuff on the menu. Town meeting ordered it at town meeting. And so now they're making us pay for it. So, okay, if that's the case, then we say no to this budget. We say no, cut this, cut that, cut this. And then but town meeting won't approve a cut. I mean, Jack Billings got up there 2 years ago, I think it was, and he said, just because our math scores are so inappropriate for this town, we're failing the kids, and we should at least let the school committee know that they need to take some action, and let's cut the budget by 1,000 or 10,000, whatever it was.
He wanted $100,000.
$100,000 out of a $65 million budget. It's like a pencil sharpener. And the town meeting went into a tithy. It's like, you can't do that to our kids. I rest my case. You can't. No one will cut the budget. It just can't be done.
Matthew, put yourself on the speaker.
You're muted, Matt.
I got some guy across the street mowing his lawn. I think it's a yearly thing where town meeting kind of puffs out their chest and kind of insinuates that they're taking a hard look at the numbers. But at the end of the night, it's just rubber stamping. You very rarely see any line items being reduced. It's like once it shows up in your mailbox, the budget and the warrant articles, it's really just it's a green light from there on out. So I can't imagine that this budget's going to be modified in any way. And I think what's going to happen is that later in the summer or in the fall, we'll be faced with maybe a Prop 2.5 override because we'll have such a big shortfall that we won't really have much of a choice. So I think in the meanwhile, maybe they'll stop funding the retirement, the OPEB, or any kind of unfunded liabilities that they've been putting off already for a number of years.
But those are the items that we are being asked to approve now. This is, again, you got to eat your lunch and then you have to pay for it. So the problem is, go ahead.
You got to look for the low hanging fruit then. It's going to be, there's got to be some pain here. You got to share the the pain and pick something that needs to be voted down. Just as just as an example of us willing to do something, and I don't see it happening. I think we're just going to pass what we have in front of us, and people will just want to leave. They don't want to stick around and debate it.
I'll tell you one thing is last year I made a big stink about the budget. And I have studied the budget for 25 years. And the budget has never been reduced. There were attempts in the past, and like Jim said, that the town meeting has always approved every single item that the Finance Committee has presented to us. The problem is the Finance Committee needs to do their job and determine whether these accounts or these warrant articles or this budget can be funded. And right now, we do not have any guarantees for that. And we are being asked to approve an open checkbook, basically. So, I mean, where does this stop? I have no idea, but we need a real estate tax revolt, and we need to have a reduction for the harm we all suffered due to the illegal, unconstitutional government actions.
Mark, I had an idea while so what you're saying is they want us to approve a budget that we know we can't afford because of all the taxes, the state kickbacks or whatever you call them, all those things have gone down. Everything is down. We will not have enough money to fund this budget as is. So instead of voting for something we know we can't afford, we should be able to just say, you know what? The budget is 120 million. We want to take 10% right off the top. You figure out where you're going to cut it before we have the next special town meeting. Yeah. Okay. How's that? I'll make an amendment for that.
That's a possibility, but they also have initiated a 1/12 budget that they are approving. The selectmen are approving. So there's a catch-22 here, and the town moderator, I hope she has enough sense to stop that, because if we do have a town meeting, then we should have a reduction. And let's move forward. And then if we do need it later, then we can authorize it.
Okay, so if I'm going to read between the lines here, when they say 1/12 of a budget, basically what they're saying is, we'll give you enough money to run the town for 1 month.
Right.
And then you're going to have another meeting and figure out how you're going to do it. So
Yeah.
why would we, after all this pain and anguish, we barely can get our 75 people there for this meeting? Why would we try to do it again in another 3 weeks? Right?
No, we can.
I mean, call me crazy.
We can authorize it for 1/12 for 3 months, maybe. But
Yep, that sounds like a good idea.
Refined. Matthew?
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there. So go from month, instead of just approving the annual budget for this fiscal 21, just kind of go from month to month, based on what we know. I know that could cause some problem for some capital projects, but I think that's kind of a more realistic way to look at it, because we don't know if the state's going to get monies from the feds, and if they don't, then the state is going to reduce their ability to provide local aid to us. So there's a kind of a domino effect, and we're at the end and we get the hurt part.
And going back to our original assumption in the beginning when we showed the seal of the town government, the king unwilling, this is the time to stand up. So let's move off the budget. They have done their damage, and now the legislature has stepped in and they're trying to reduce the quorum. So we'll see what happens. But
okay, but Mark, when you talk about the town seal and the king unwilling, I think we have too many kings. I mean, we got town manager, we got the governor, we got Beacon Hill, and Congress, and we got the White House. We got too many chiefs.
oh, we got the health director in our town that's becoming a dictator as well, because he's following whatever Baker wants. So,
The bureaucrat's dream, baby.
but I think we need to address this at town meeting, and I don't know. It may be an opportunity, but I asked Pat, what's going to happen if I don't show up? She says, "We'll miss you."
We'll go much faster.
We'll go much faster, right? They can do it in 3 minutes instead of 15. All right. So the next story, which is the number 3 story here, is really a follow-up on COVID-19 status. And I don't know, this is my own personal experience with what's going on, because I've seen it in Eastern Europe and Poland, back in the old country. This is nothing new, but this is an emerging government form that we are experiencing. And as if you noticed, I put up, it can't happen here. Well, it is happening. Sinclair Lewis had that straight up in 1939. The dictatorship and legal actions being taken to date, freedom of conducting business, major shifts needed in rejecting the governor's illegal orders to shut down our businesses in the square. Who elected the governor who elected him to be the dictator? This is all illegal. We need to recapture our civil liberties and constitutional freedoms. Why do we need 1,000 trackers to report on the COVID-19 infections to track our citizens for the government and the governor? 1,000 people that they're hiring to keep track of all the people that have experienced the virus. Where are our civil liberties? It's none of their business. Matthew? Put your mic on.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
So I think that the tracking is is imperative. It's sort of as important as having a vaccine, right? Is if you were at a location and you were tested positive afterwards, it would be good to know who was with you at that time. So I think other countries like Korea were very good at I forget the term for it, but they were able to determine who you were may have infected. So I think it's for the good of society. Some of these things, you present them as some kind of draconian evil government, but I think sometimes you have to give up some personal liberties for the good of society. Just like we all have to stop for red lights, and there's a good reason for that. So at the end of the day, I think we're doing this.
You are a good liberal that wants government inflicting their will on your freedoms. Jim?
I mean, Benjamin Franklin gave us the warning. He said, if you're willing to sacrifice your liberty for a little security, you're going to get neither. I mean, yeah, it's all a great idea. I mean, I could give you quotes and realities. The thing is, the Constitution is clear. The government is in a box. They should. The thing that the biggest job of the government is to protect the borders. And that's the only thing they're not doing, because they won't let Trump do it. They won't let him build the wall, but he's building it anyway. But the states own what's going on here. And so we need to, every state is managing their own COVID-19 crisis. Okay. And good, bad, or indifferent, if you don't like it, you got to vote these guys out. Who keeps re-electing these people? I have no idea in heck. They've been in there too long. They're all career politicians. And this is what we end up with. We got to rotate just like crops. Got to rotate them every 7 years. Boom. Vote them out. That's my take. We got to vote them out. We need voter education is the key. Okay, and that's why I do this kind of stuff. Got to try to teach people to fish, not to just give them fish. Yeah, this is the hook. This is the line. This is how it works, baby. You got to put that worm on the hook, and you might stab your finger and bleed. But you know what? That'll be a good part of the bait too. Just throw it all in there.
All right. What I'd like to do is maybe a closing comment on this. We must come back to normal and not some new normal. Public, us, demands immediate reversal of the current policies and admit to what the virus really is. This epidemic is a biological warfare by China, an attack and test on what world will accept. This was spread all over the world. This is a worldwide attack to show the economic pressures by Europe and the United States will be resisted at all costs. This is what starts wars. Legal actions are being filed against the governor and the dictatorial town managers and mayors. All actions are illegal and unconstitutional. The courts are asleep because they're locked up as well. Not one federal, state, or municipal worker has been affected by this virus, except for the fact that they're imposing the same rules on them, but they have not been laid off. They have not been eliminated. What is essential in this world? Our freedom is what's essential. In addition, this is a big government attacking our constitutional rights. These constitutional rights have been ordered for many years have been eroded for many years under several administrations. It accelerated with 9/11 and the Patriot Act. And now we are all becoming sheep going to slaughter. Federal government is handing out payments to individuals and corporations to keep peace in the population. These are considered as bribes to keep peace in our population. Police state is in action. And I added this one last sentence is that socialism is going on in front of our eyes and we don't even admit it. Matthew, last comments.
Yep. So a Gallup poll that came out today said the majority of Americans are in favor of this wearing masks and doing social distancing. And we're seeing what happens when we just kind of We've gotten tired of this routine, and so we just want to go back to business as usual. And we're seeing in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Utah, where when they opened up too soon, now those are the hot spots. So I don't want Massachusetts to be a hot spot. I think been on a downward trend for quite a few weeks now, and I think that the governor Baker is doing a great job. I don't have a problem. I don't see it as an attack on my liberty. I can get in my car and drive anywhere in the country I want, I think. So I think we just need to kind of just stay the course and be safe rather than sorry, especially for older people in our communities who may be more susceptible to getting sick. You know, there's something to be said about overreacting. We may be overreacting, but it's better than the alternative. So that's really all I have to say. And I don't know if you're going to Tulsa to the rally, but if you do, you should wear a mask.
What rally is this now?
The Trump rally.
That's the Trump
in
rally.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was supposed to be the 19th. He moved it out to the 20th.
They won't let me travel that far. I mean, the governor told us to stay home. Jim,
No, that's
what
just a
about
suggestion. You have the freedom.
I mean, my take again. The thing is, we have to get back to normal. I don't think anyone has got the correct numbers. I'm tired of hearing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I hear the same stuff. And in fact, but we took a week and a half vacation because we had the BLM, burn, loot, and maim. You know, but you know, when the news media lies about all this stuff, they say the BLM, you know, protests were mostly peaceful, and then yeah, things are burning a little. There was 51 businesses in Boston that were damaged. Lord knows how many others in all the other cities and towns. And we only want to talk about Chaz and Chop and people taking over parts of the city. So that's coming. That's happening. We need to wake up, okay? Because that's just we're asleep, and people need to break out of the mold of the 24/7 mantra of, oh yeah, we gotta. Let's turn in our freedoms for some security. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It will not happen.
I think what we have done is we have become too comfortable with the handouts from the unemployed to the unemployed, for one thing. That's keeping the population quiet, because when those payments stop and people really have to go back to work, this whole thing needs to change. The thing is that, you know, all three of us are right now working from home. The thing is, this cannot last forever. And the thing is, business needs to continue. And we are not allowing business to continue in our town. And we had a long discussion about the restaurants and the outside dining. Look at downtown. There's maybe two places that have either a tent or some tables out in front of it. Where is everybody else? They're not able to conduct business because they are fearful of our government. That's where the problem is. The government is inflicting wounds on us. Look at Uxbridge, the gym that just closed. The state government went in there and shut off their electricity and changed the locks. What the hell is going on? The selectman in Swampscott is getting personally attacked, and his family is in danger of threats. Why? Because somebody wants to do that. We need to stop that. So we have another minute, and I want to thank you both for staying with me on this. I know I'm the lonely voice out here, but we will continue this discussion. And our next show is July 9th with the permission of DCAT, because we need to continue these shows. We cannot just sit back and watch what's going on.